Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm here with Julianna, who is the Manager of Talent Services at Voices.com. Voices.com is the biggest online platform for voiceover artists. It connects work in the voiceover world with actors and voiceover talent who have home studio setup. So it's an incredible platform for actors. And I thought it'd be an awesome opportunity to chat with Julianna about the platform and about getting into voiceover generally, because I really encourage it for actors because it can be a lucrative side hustle or even, in fact, a whole career in and of itself. And most actors have the skills already to get into it. So why don't we start with a little introduction from yourself and maybe about the platform, and then we'll go into some of the nitty-gritty of getting into the game.
Hi, sure. Sounds good, Andrew. So Voices.com is, like Andrew said, it's the largest marketplace for voiceover actors to connect to work. So having a home studio these days doesn't mean spending an arm and a leg, but the other half of doing well in voiceovers isn't just your studio, it's your ability to bring the script to life. So the skills that someone has as an actor are directly applicable to what you're doing in voiceovers. And so I've been working with voiceover artists for the last 5 years, helping them to understand the platform, how to apply their skills, how to make money doing voiceovers online. And I'm going to chat with Andrew about some tips and tricks to do that.
Beautiful. Well, that might be a great place to start. I think a lot of people feel there's a financial hurdle in getting into it. Is there a kind of a baseline package or a certain amount of money you think you need to spend to be able to sort of get in the game to start booking work?
Good question. So like any freelance business, there's always going to be a cost upfront. When you're looking at voiceovers, there are a couple of things that you'll be looking at. One is, first off, your training. So for actors, sometimes they already have this under their belt and they feel comfortable getting in front of a microphone and, like I said, bringing a script to life, knowing where to pause, how to interpret, who's your audience, what action do I want my audience to take after listening to me read this script. So training is the first thing. Second thing is a home studio. When you're looking at equipment these days, a good home studio, you're probably looking at around, depending on your area that you can record in, around 1,000 Canadian dollars, because we're a Canadian company. What you're really looking at is a microphone, a quiet space to record in. So some voiceover artists will start off in their walk-in closet, believe it or not, because the clothing that surrounds them makes for a great sound absorber. And when you're looking to record for voiceovers, you want to avoid anything that has an echo. That makes it bounce around the room and then you don't get this very nice sound. It's something you can't edit out. So you want a small room with soft surfaces. Some people, like I said, have a home studio in their closet. Some people have a small bedroom over which they can apply either some like heavy comforters or moving blankets. I've worked with voiceover artists who are now successfully doing this full time, who started off just with some 2x4s in a small corner of their living room, and now they've upgraded to a full studio in their basement. So again, depending on where you're going to be recording in, your home studio cost could be nothing. It could be $200 for some sound absorbing panels to go over your windows and any of the reflection areas in your room. Mm-hmm. You're going to need editing software. You can find some for free. You can find some that has a price tag attached to it. When you're new and getting into it, maybe something like Pro Tools would be overkill, but maybe something like Adobe Audition or Audacity, which is a free program, are great for you to get started with, because as a voice actor, your responsibility isn't to edit your files so much as like post-production by adding like music and sound effects. It is your responsibility to provide a clean, professional recording, which means, taking out any mouth or breath noises. It's, if you make a mistake in a 5-minute voiceover, you don't want to have to start at the beginning all over again. You want to be able to cut out the bad take and put the two good takes together. So like I said, you can have software that's for free, or for Adobe Audition comes with a small cost, but it's well worth it. It's probably one of the better programs out there. Depending on your home studio situation, you may be looking at around $200. And then for the microphone, again, that really all depends. There's 2 avenues that you can go down. You can do a USB condenser mic, or you can go the large diaphragm condenser microphones. And those are like the big ones that you see in radio studios, and they require the microphone and an audio interface and a couple cables, so they can be quite expensive.
Is there
Although,
sorry to cut in, this is fantastic information. I'm just wondering if if you feel comfortable, if there's any particular brands maybe in the microphones that are very commonly used in studios, or?
Yeah, no problem. So if you're looking at keeping your costs lower and you want to go with a USB condenser microphone, something like a Rode is a great company to get started with. Rode started in professional microphones, and then they've slowly made their way into the commercial sphere. So you really do get that high quality, but without the high price tag. In the fact, the Rode NT1A is a phenomenal microphone for new talent to get started with. We're probably looking at around 250 Canadian dollars. Although, you know, the price of a job on voices.com averages around 350. So one job and you usually are able to take care of it. I have heard talent ask me about, you know, what about quality microphones that are a lesser quality or lesser price point? And I really do caution against it, because you could be the best voice talent out there, but in the online world, if your audio is poor, it doesn't matter if you're the best voice for the job, your audio is poor and they can't use you. So they're going to go with somebody who has better quality audio. So starting like the Rode, which is around 250 up. If you're a Mac user, an Apogee 96K is a great mic. It's nice and portable too. If you're ever on the road and you need to do an audition in your car, that one plugs right into your iPhone. If you're looking for something that is a large diaphragm condenser mic, which you'll need an audio interface, you can go with ones like AKG. Oh, is that the word I'm thinking of?
Yeah, 414, I think.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you very much. There are tons of other ones out there. All my audio engineers are usually the ones who recommend those.
No, but it's a great, I totally agree. The NT1A or NT1 is a beautiful mic, and probably the next big step up would be the Neumann TLM 103. I'm sure you see that a lot, which is quite expensive.
Well, and then a huge price drop, right? Because if I remember correctly, that's something around 11, 12, 15. Yeah. If you're someone who is technically savvy, absolutely go for it, because you can hear the warmth and the difference that it makes. Although if you're not someone who's maybe as technically savvy, or maybe you're not so sure about the soundproofing in your studio, going for a mic that's that high quality, you can sometimes pick up like the refrigerator running in the background in the other room. So you just got to be careful and make sure that your studio is on par with what kind of a microphone that you're picking up.
Yeah, but it's great. As you say, it can be a very lucrative industry, so you can almost pay off a mic or a section of the studio in one or two jobs. So that's very exciting.
Absolutely.
So maybe we should start there. I guess the sales pitch for maybe actors who have all these skills, but maybe they're struggling to pick up, you know, a lot of professional acting work. Why do you recommend it as an industry for actors?
Oh, it's something that you can pick up and put down whenever you have time. You guys would know this, when you're traveling to gigs or you're being sent from place to place, a lot of your time is eaten up just in the travel, or you're competing against, you know, quite a few number of people for a project. And when you're doing voiceovers online, it's like, say you're home, you've got 20 minutes, you're not doing anything, sit down and work, do a couple auditions. They come right to you. So any of that time as well that you might spend searching for work, like, okay, I'll call these producers, okay, do these guys have work? All right. You know, even if they do have work, are they looking for someone like me? When you do online voiceovers, they send it right to you, and they send you only the kind of work that you're interested in. So you're being extremely efficient with your time, and you're not, you know, spending money on parking, on gas. You're just your studio, your own time, and you do auditions. And if you're the best one for the job, then you're the one who gets it.
Love it. Absolutely love it. So my next question, I guess, is, because as I already know, but hopefully people listening probably getting a bit excited. If they want to sort of break into it, I guess we'll talk about the platform specifically, but I guess generally speaking, would you say it begins with a great voice demo? Is that important?
Ooh, that's a good question. Good point. So there are a couple of different reasons that you would need a demo. And when you're doing voiceovers, like, again, any freelance industry, you want to have multiple avenues of auditions. So you want to tailor your efforts towards whatever is going to make that avenue the most successful. And if you are approaching agents, or you're approaching producers or the end clients yourself, you have to have a professionally produced demo. It is your resume. It needs to be your showcase of your best work. You have to. Mm-hmm. When you're doing online voiceover work, you're not being judged off of your demo. You're being judged off of your audition. So right. I know a lot of talent who will get started with just their home studio, and then they'll begin auditioning. They'll get a couple jobs under their belt, and they'll either use those jobs that they book as part of their demo, or because they booked a few jobs, they'll know where they should, like what kind of style they should do their demo in, because they've already booked work in that category. So then they'll have that information about what part of their voice, what sound sells, and then they'll go work with the coach, get their demo made for, I booked a lot of job in e-learning. I totally thought I was going to do animation. I'm going to make sure that one of the first things I do is an e-learning demo. And then once they have that, then they'll go out into the industry and give people their e-learning demo and then upload it to their site, like voices.com, and then they'd get more e-learning work that way. But it really is, you want to make sure you tailor your efforts towards what's going to work the best. And if you're going to an agent or on your own professionally produced demo, if you're working on an online casting site, you can usually get started with either your own or get started without it and then build it up as you grow, because your profile grows with you.
Totally. But then once you get to that point, from my understanding of Voices and other platforms like it, you do, when you maybe do a search, you get a list of all the reels. So does it then become quite important how good your reel is compared to, I guess, the other, for me, males in the 20 to 30 bracket or whatever? Or
yeah. So in that point, when you're handing out your demo to producers, you want a compilation demo. You want to show them all the good voices that you can do. In online casting, you want to split your demo up so that you can use as many tag words to catch what a client is searching. So if you have, let's say you have a compilation demo and your 5th spot is your e-learning, and a client types in e-learning and your demo comes up, but the first thing that they hear is a commercial read, they're going to move on to the next one. So the strategy behind online casting is to upload each part of your compilation demo as a separate demo on the website. So you could have 6 spots on your compilation, but that will equal 6 different demos plus your compilation demo. And then that way you would come up higher in the search results by having them split out both ways. Yeah, great.
And maybe just to push you a little further in terms of whatever you end up showcasing, whether that's a formal demo or whether that's little clips that you like. Do you have any general notes for that? Are you looking for kind of conversational, warm, and anything particular in that, or specific to the person, I guess?
Yeah, definitely specific to the person. You really can't go wrong by starting off with a commercial or an e-learning demo or kind of a business. Both of those are very, very popular. Sounds that we see a lot are things like approachable expert, which is basically just like you having a conversation with your friend. We see a lot of authoritative. We see a lot of fun foreign intrigue, we call it, and that's like an accent that you can't quite place. People really think like that. Yeah. So it actually works out for you guys. But really, you just want to connect with the read, whatever you do, and make it believable, and don't half-ass it. It has to be like you're bringing, like I said, the words to life. It can't just be you reading from a piece of paper monotone. No matter what style it is, that doesn't land.
And do you think it's about well, I obviously work with a lot of voiceover artists myself, but would you agree that it's about embracing kind of your natural voice, not maybe trying to sound like anyone else or trying to do a voice as such?
Absolutely. Yeah, there are, what makes you unique is what makes you hireable. Definitely. Yeah.
Love that. Some great thoughts there. So a big question, outside of StageMilk, I produce voiceover demos for people here in Sydney, Australia. A lot of people make the demo, and I encourage them to do a lot of hustling, talk to studios, go to platforms like yourself. But obviously still it's considered the big voice agents. If you can get in with one, it's great, and it can really take you to that next level. But here in Australia, there's probably 3 or 4 really big voice agents that are very difficult to get with. I guess my first question is how you feel about voice agents, whether that's a worthwhile step or whether you can now completely do it on your own and with the kind of hustle, I guess.
Ooh, yeah, honestly, you can do it both ways.
Mm.
Definitely. Especially for someone who's newer to the industry, if you're new and you don't have a resume and you're like a voiceover resume and you're approaching a voiceover agent, if you don't have anything to back up your demo, it's going to be really tough for you.
Mm.
Like, you need to have a history of work to show why you're wonderful, not just what's in the demo. So what I've seen a lot of talent do, and with great success, is they'll have their home studio, have their demo, be auditioning on an online casting site, and then once they have booked jobs based on like how, like, their merit, their skill, because they're just being judged on their audition on online casting, they'll then start to build up a resume. And not only do they build up a resume, but they develop their own skills, they develop their own sound. Like, you can't help but become better when you're auditioning every day. And so you do that for a year, and then with your resume of work and your improved skill, you take that to an agent, you'll have a much easier time, at least the talent that I've talked to, landing work with them than doing it on your own. And I know a lot of talent that don't need an agent because they work on so many online casting sites that they don't have time to do work with an agent. And I know the flip side as well. It's really your own personal opinion on it.
And I guess with your program, and I guess maybe speaking generally, but you only obviously a representative from voices.com, but could you be, I know there's some issues sometimes with like equity rates that do vary in countries, but can you be with an agent and also do some of maybe this occasionally more lower paid stuff? Is that an issue?
Oh, sorry. Do you mean an agent as in a union agent or like a non-union talent agent?
Well, here in Australia, I think it's a bit less specific as in the States and in Canada, but there is a very strong union here. So if you're with one of those top agents, you probably would only be generally, probably 95% of the time would be doing union paid work, yes. But I know a lot of those actors with those bigger agents do things for friends or privately or do online things as well.
Yeah. Most online casting sites are all going to be non-union work.
Okay.
If you're union, you can't do non-union work unless you are somehow able to change that non-union job to union, but you can't go the other way around. You can't take a union job and make it go non-union. That's decided by a contract that the company will have, right?
Right.
So
yeah.
yeah, so I know some talent who were with agents, weren't getting enough work, and left their agents to solely do voiceover work online, because there's been such a shift in the industry towards online voiceover work. Like, what we notice is less and less we're working with agencies or production houses, and more we're working with the end clients themselves, which means that instead of working through an agency and only receiving a small amount of their work, we'll work with the whole company, and we'll end up doing their online training, we're doing their internal training, we're doing their commercials. So there's that idea that, oh, if you're doing non-union work, you're doing like small penny work, but not definitely. In the last couple of years, the number of jobs on our site that are above the 10 grand mark, or that, you'll book one job with them, but that's actually a 60-part project because it's an e-learning institute and it's 30 grand by the end of the year, is starting to happen more and more. So it's really up to you. Like, if you can get in with your agent and you can get in and do that really big union work, that is awesome. But from what I understand, there's sometimes not enough to feed everyone, and that's where non-union hustlers can really end up doing well if you've got that drive, because there's just so much work out there in the non-union sphere.
Yeah, really interesting. It's obviously much more segregated in America and in Canada. But so if you were the very, very top voice agent, I presume would be all union if you're in the voice. Yeah, sure. Okay, cool. So it actually probably is in your interest, unless you maybe get with one of those very big agents, to do a hustle and build up some profile, at least for a while. Yeah, because you'll be locked out of all this great work. And on that, that's kind of an interesting debate that's happening here in the voiceover industry. I think with home studios becoming so affordable, I certainly know some professional voice artists who are, stressing out a little bit that some of the work is this sort of this war of attrition happening, that, it's getting very, very competitive. Do you see that as a good thing, or do you think there's a limit to that, of voiceover artists being underpaid, or is it starting to go that way?
I think that voiceover artists are standing up for themselves more and more, which is really good to see. It's so easy for a client or for a talent to become so excited that they booked this project, and then a year later to realize that they were totally taken advantage of. And it always breaks my heart to see. And although, like in any business, maybe when you're getting started, you offer some discounts to get the work, it's not how it should be, not in any industry. Like what we've found, so there are minimums in place on voices.com. So like you'll never be paid less than what industry standard should be, so that we can like help educate clients so they don't post jobs at those lower rates. Like they're literally not able to. Like if your job is supposed to be $2,000 and you try and post it at $500, the site legit won't let you post the job. But also for voiceover artists, like, okay, listen, if this is a broadcast job and it needs to be this 13-week usage, and it'll be radio and TV, the minimum that you should be bidding is this. And that's like all right there for everyone to see, so that you know what you should be getting paid. Clients know what a good voiceover should cost. And the long and short of it is there are always going to be clients that payment, like money is the bottom dollar, and like there's no way to get away from that. But those people are usually on other sites. Like those clientele look at other sites versus clients who are like, listen, I need someone who's good, because I understand that if the voice doesn't connect on my project, the whole thing can fall apart. And I think that there's been that trend over the last couple of years, that voiceover budget used to be the last consideration, and now it's not the first by any means, but it's starting to become more and more important that they pay voiceover artists well, because they understand that if they want their project to do well, they need to have someone who's professional, and someone who's professional is going to cost them a certain amount. And I think it's something that we're always going to have to, it's a fight we will always continue. But again, the more you educate people, the easier it is, and the more they understand.
Beautiful. That's a great answer. So let's chat a little bit about, voices.com is, as we were saying at the start of this, really the biggest site for independent voice artists to find work. So maybe let's chat specifically about the program. If someone's listening to this right now going, I've either got a demo, I've done a bit of voiceover, and they're like, want to make use of it, what are the kind of steps to getting on the platform, and then making use of it and actually getting work?
Sure. So first thing is, because it's an algorithm that matches you with job postings, and there are 5,000 jobs that are posted on the site each month. So if you have to make sure that your profile is properly set up, you need to make sure that your demo's up, that they're tagged, that you've split them all up, that you're telling the site what kind of work you want to see. And if you have any questions like, is my audio good enough to get started? Like, will I book work with the microphone that I have? Please call us. We have a couple of audio engineers who work on staff, and we'd be happy to take a listen and let you know if your audio is what clients will hire. Because it's the worst thing when you've seen someone on the site for a couple of months, they haven't booked any work, they call in needing help, and you can hear the refrigerator running in the background and the kids screaming on the front lawn. It's just nice to have those issues taken care of before you invest, because there is an investment for getting started, and that's quite common on most of these voiceover sites, as we don't take a commission like an agent would. So instead there's a one-time marketing fee, kind of like how if you want to boost your website on Google, you pay Google and they'll post it up as an ad. It's the same. It's a marketing fee. We send jobs to you, you audition for them. So depending upon
one-off, or that's you pay something regularly to stay on the platform?
Once every 365 days. It's just an annual membership, and it's a one-time fee. And then one of the nice things that Voices does that a lot of artists love is that we pay you too. So if you're in Australia and your client's in the United States and you haven't heard from them in a couple months after delivering your files, you don't have to worry about being ghosted. Instead, you contact us, we'll pay you, and then we'll worry about collecting on the invoice later. Wow. Do you guys have PayPal? You guys have PayPal, right? Okay, just checking because we were just talking about
We're
China.
not
Yeah,
that, we're not that backwards down here.
yeah, no, just making sure. Well, you can have a free account with PayPal, and but when you have a free one with them, they take a small percentage of any funds being deposited into your account. But we pay that PayPal fee for you, so then you get paid every Friday. And like I said, we cover the PayPal transfer fee. So it's a really nice way for someone who's looking to supplement their income, do a side hustle, to do it without any worry of not getting paid for the work they're doing.
And one of the things I've wondered as an actor myself, and someone who, funnily enough, produces a lot of voiceover but hasn't yet ventured into it myself, one thing I'm a little reluctant with is going, will it be a lot of work before, like, how likely is it to get work? Like, is it most people who start up, there is work to pick up, or is it sort of like really the top echelon gets the vast majority and everyone else is struggling?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, I mean, like in any freelance industry, the cream rises to the top. So the people who are talented are the ones who get to the jobs. That being said, just because you're new to the site doesn't mean you're not talented. I have worked with talent who like picked up their husband's microphone and just had that natural ability and like booked work their first month. I've worked with people who have been radio for 30 years who didn't book a job for the first 6 months because they had to unlearn the radio sound. Here's the thing, like, it's going to be work 100%. Like, you are going to have to put out a lot of auditions to get work. Like, there is no way around it. Generally, we see successful artists book between 2 to 7% of the jobs that they audition for. And Australian talent will probably send you around 10 auditions a week. So you can kind of start, like, to be quite frank with you, like, that's what you can expect. And if you're okay with that, each audition is 30 seconds and might take you, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes to produce.
So if you started, for an Australian, let's say, I mean, I guess this would be fairly similar around the world, maybe in some of the smaller countries, but if you started today, there would be an opportunity to do between 2 and 10 auditions a week.
Yeah, 100%.
Wow. And
like,
you don't get, it's not one of the systems where you get paid for the audition, it's just if you book the job.
Yeah, you got it. And there's no priority given to people who have been on the site longer or who pay more for their membership, anything like that. It is like, it purely comes down to how well matched are you to this project based on the client's criteria, and like, you know, how good is your audition? Like, did you nail the artistic direction? Do you have good audio? And for those reasons, I've seen like actors walk in and just clean up house. I've also seen them struggle. There's so much like to it, but we do provide you the opportunity. It's just up to you to take advantage of it. And if you have questions, there are real people on the end of the phone. Just call us, and then we're happy to walk you through things, because like most things in life, sometimes it's just a misunderstanding. And once you understand what you're getting yourself into, it can really work well. Actually, Andrew, we generally see people who are new to the site spend a 2-to-1 ratio between auditioning and booking work. So if you spend 5 hours a week auditioning, you'll probably spend about 2.5 hours working. And then once you've been on a site for about a year, that usually evens out to about a 1-to-1 ratio.
Right, because people get very efficient at maybe doing a whole series of auditions. Yeah.
Clients will, hey, we used you for that project, we need to do another install of it, or like, hey, somebody else in my team worked with you, we want to use you for this now, and like all that kind of stuff.
And just to clarify, every specific audition you have to put a quote together as well of what you would do it for, right? So it's very much about the combination of the audition with your pricing as well.
Yeah, so you want to, like, what we found by running the numbers is that the high mid-range is the sweet spot to bid. So if you see a job and it's $250 to $500 and you have professional quality audio and you have a good voice, if you're bidding a high mid-range like $450, $425, $475, that's a competitive bid, because it makes you look like you know what you're doing, but you're still at a very competitive price. If you were to come in at like $150, clients don't look at that like, oh, sweet, what a deal. They're like, what's wrong with this person that they would bid themselves so low? Like, if I've told you I have $250 to $500 and you bid lower, like, why, what is going on here? So again, it's really all about perceived value and being able to back up your price. And if you have any questions like, oh, hey, what should I bid? Again, just call us or email us.
Great. It's amazing. Okay. Love it. I'm excited to get on it myself. For someone who's listening to this, really keen, if they're an actor, they probably have already some experience with storytelling and keywords and bringing kind of the sense of language to life, which is what it's all about from my perspective. But is there any specific things you'd recommend in terms of to skill up? Maybe if you're more of an inexperienced actor or you just have never done voiceover, what would you kind of recommend to get into it?
Sure. Like a couple of things. Get used to hearing your own voice. Read everything out loud and listen back to yourself critically. Remember, you don't have your body to rely on to convey a message or your face. So you have to do it with your voice. So you have to be that little bit extra. You have to make that little bit of a pause, and you have to do it while being natural. So a lot of voiceover artists will read the script once in their head, once or twice out loud, and then take the best take and go on and move on. And, they'll do a little bit of research beforehand to figure out what mindset I'm in. And so a lot of those skills will be applicable for you when you're doing auditions, but just know that you do have to be a little bit extra, and you have to kind of be critical with yourself about, did this sound natural? Is this what someone who is in this position would sound like? Like if I'm doing a commercial for somebody who's colicky, and it's make sure you go and see the doctor, like in that moment, is this what that mother would be feeling? And so tapping into that is hugely important when you're doing voiceovers and you just have your voice to convey those emotions.
Yeah. So on that, would your recommendation be someone who maybe does have quite limited experience? Would you go and do some of those things, do a bit of training, kind of do some work on your voice, I guess, with a coach, or just, all those exercises you said you could do at home yourself? Do that for a period and then join something like Voices or get onto those online platforms? Or would you, rather than diving straight in?
That's a tricky question. I know I think it all depends on your personality. I know some people just like to jump in and learn as they're going. I know some people, like myself, like to be a little bit more prepared when they're going into it. I will say I've worked with a lot of talent who had great success doing both at the same time. So they'd be working with the coach and auditioning, and because they had an avenue to actively audition as they were training, they could put their training into practice right away. And then they could take their auditions back to their coach and say, okay, how did I do on this? And they can get real-time feedback, which was really helpful. Helpful just to hear what an expert thinks about it. But you're right. Like, there's never going to be a perfect time to jump in. Sometimes you just have to jump in with 2 feet and say yes and figure it out as you go, which is actually a theme that I hear a lot of voiceover artists say. They're like, I had no idea what I was doing in the beginning, and then I booked my first job, and then I figured it out as I went. And it's just, if you love doing something, you'll find a way to do it. You really will.
But certainly you feel, you're obviously very passionate about voices.com, but you certainly feel that you could spend that initial joining fee, and certainly if you give it your time and your effort, that it will quite quickly pay off, even if you haven't had a great deal of experience. There's a real chance of booking work.
Yeah, it's such a tricky question, Andrew. I would love to be able to say, we can give everyone a job, but the long and short of it is, in online casting, it's not us who's doing the choosing, it's the clients. And whether or not they pick someone is totally up to them. So you have to be okay with rejection. Like you straight up have to, and you have to be okay with being persevering. Like if you don't, you do 100 auditions and you don't book a job, do 200. And you get, it's not that you're left without any feedback. You see if a client has listened to your audition, and you see if a client has liked your audition. So if they liked your audition, it means they shortlisted you for the project so they could show their client. And if you've done 200 auditions, which I don't know, might take you a month, 2 months, and you don't see a high percentage of likes, then something is happening. Something is wrong. It's either your audio or it's your delivery, and it's up to you to either call us and figure out which one, or for you to take it to a coach and figure out which one. If you're auditioning and you have like a 25 to 50% like ratio on your auditions, keep going. You are so close. Keep going. But you have those numbers to kind of give you an indicator. Okay, is this me or is this a time thing? Which can really help. And if you need any information deciphering it, okay, like how are my numbers? Just let us know.
That's great. That's an awesome function, because I think actors are often very frustrated when they audition for acting jobs. You very, very rarely get any feedback. So you're either great and just not right, or you just haven't been doing particularly well.
Yeah.
That's a great start. And it sounds like you're all very open to giving that personal feedback. So
Yeah. Or
that's
I
all.
mean, you're spending money on something. It's tough, like when you don't get any feedback. And so just knowing for yourself, like if you're auditioning and you've done 200 and you're seeing less than 25% like ratio, like you are doing something wrong. If you're seeing more than a 25, you're really close, but there could be a couple of things that you're doing on the site, not like performance or audio wise, but on the site that we can do to help you get there. And if you're like at 50% and above, like just keep going, put your head down, audition more, the jobs will land.
Yeah. So I want to ask one final question. I think you have a really unique perspective with the amount of jobs that you see going through the platform. Here in Australia, there's certainly been a big movement over the last probably 5 or 10 years of this more kind of everyman conversational kind of read. I guess what would you say is the bulk of the work in the online platforms, and then what is the bulk of, I guess, the style of read that most people need to work on?
Sure. So we see a 60-40 split between non-broadcast and broadcast. So 60% of the work we see falls under business, internet, education, documentaries, that kind of style. And then the rest is like the TV, the radio, the animation, cartoon, that's the 40%. In there, you're always going to get a character. You're playing someone. But yes, the conversational is very important. You can be, when it comes to the commercial work, yeah, like there's about an even split between middle-aged and young adult projects coming through. So if you fall into one of those areas and you just sound like a believable, natural, normal human being, you usually see a fair amount of work. On the non-broadcast side, that's definitely towards the approachable expert that we were talking about. And again, it's the same kind of, there's a very close split between middle-aged and young adult there. Probably leaning a little bit more towards the internet style, which is like the educational how-tos, which has its own, like, how do you keep someone engaged while so instead of telling a story, how do you keep someone engaged as you're doing a long form narration? And really, you're, like I said, you have it right. What the style you're talking about is what a lot of people want, and especially on online casting, it's kind of like a little bit more hip, I guess you'd say. It's not like not the traditional like booming radio announcer that gets you into a little bit of trouble, but you really just want to make sure that whatever you're doing, you follow the artistic direction. You don't like go into autopilot. You don't live in your like voiceover voice, that you legit like think about it, like put your acting hat on, get in that space and deliver the most genuine read you can from that space. And that's what people want. In fact, you can find on a report that we did. It's like voices.com/company/reports. And it says, it's like an ad report, and it says what's the most important factor when somebody is hiring a talent, and it's believability.
Wow.
Over cost, over anything, it's believability.
Love it. That's a great insight and a great way probably to finish. It's been so wonderful to chat with you, Julianna. I hope everyone's enjoyed it. It's a really unique insight, and it certainly wasn't meant as a kind of sales pitch, but I'm certainly sold. I think these online platforms, voices.com being the biggest and probably the most established, they really are a great way, particularly for actors who are, struggling financially. And I know how difficult it can be as an actor. And as Julianna's been saying again and again, you can find it in little pockets of time, or you can, set aside a few days a week and do your auditioning and stuff. So it's a very flexible system. And like anything, it takes a bit of work and a bit of startup costs. But if there's, as it sounds like, and as I know, there is work out there. So it's very, very exciting. Thank you for taking some time. It's been lovely to chat.
Yeah, you as well. I really hope that everyone who's listening, you use multiple avenues. Don't just rely on one to do well in your industry. Like act, do voiceovers, be on multiple sites, have multiple agents, use every resource you can so that you can do this as something that's full-time, because I have seen it done, and I know it's a lot of work, but it is worth it once you get over that hurdle and people start coming to you for things. So if we can help in any way along that journey, please let us know. And it's been great talking to you, Andrew.
Beautiful. Thanks so much.
Yeah, no problem. All right, take care. Bye, guys.